What if you could never again forget a name? Imagine walking into a room full of people, shaking hands, and remembering every single name effortlessly. Not only would it make you a networking superstar, but it would also open doors in your personal and professional life. The ability to remember names is like having a secret superpower. It instantly builds rapport, shows people you're genuinely interested in them, and leaves a lasting positive impression. In this video, we're diving deep into 5 powerful techniques that will transform you into a name-remembering machine. So stay tuned, because what you're about to learn could change the way you network forever. Let's kick things off with the first technique, and it's all about repetition. Our brains are wired to remember things that are repeated, especially when it comes to new information. This is a fundamental aspect of how our memory works. So the moment you hear someone's name, make a conscious effort to use it immediately. This initial usage is crucial. Think about it. You don't forget your own name, right? That's because it's ingrained in your memory through constant use. That's because you use it all the time. It's a part of your identity. When you meet someone new, repeat their name back to them during the introduction. This reinforces the name in your mind. For example, "It's nice to meet you, Sarah." This simple act can make a big difference. This simple act of repetition helps solidify the name in your short-term memory. It's like creating a mental note. But don't stop there. Continue to use their name naturally throughout the conversation. This continuous usage is key. Ask them a question using their name, like, "So, Sarah, what do you do for a living?" This keeps the name fresh in your mind. Or, "That's an interesting point, Sarah. Tell me more." This shows genuine interest. The key is to make it feel organic, not forced. Natural usage is more effective. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Won't that sound weird and repetitive? Trust me, it won't. It actually feels quite natural. In fact, people love hearing their own name. It creates a sense of personal connection. It makes them feel acknowledged and important. This can enhance your interaction. Plus, it shows that you're paying attention and genuinely interested in them. This can build rapport. Repetition is a powerful tool for memory retention. It's a technique used in various learning processes. By using someone's name multiple times during your initial interaction, you're essentially hammering that information into your brain. This creates a strong memory trace. It's like creating a mental groove that makes it easier for the name to stick. This groove helps in long-term retention. And the best part is this technique is incredibly easy to implement. It doesn't require much effort. It doesn't require any special skills or memorization tricks. Just a bit of mindfulness. Just a conscious effort to use the person's name as often as possible without sounding awkward. This conscious effort pays off. Remember, the more you use their name, the more likely you are to remember it in the long run. This is a simple yet effective strategy. Think about it like learning a new word. Repetition is key in language learning too. You wouldn't just read it once and expect to remember it forever, right? You'd practice it. You'd use it in sentences, write it down, maybe even try to work it into casual conversation. This reinforces the word. The same principle applies to remembering names. Consistent usage is key. So the next time you meet someone new, challenge yourself to use their name at least 3 times during your conversation. This can be a fun exercise. You'll be amazed at how much easier it is to recall their name later on. This can boost your confidence. And who knows, you might even impress them with your attentiveness and genuine interest in getting to know them. Remember, repetition is key. It's a simple yet powerful tool. It's the foundation for building strong memories and establishing meaningful connections. This can enhance your social interactions significantly. Our brains are incredibly visual. We remember images and faces far more easily than abstract concepts like names. This next technique involves creating a mental image that links the person's name to a distinctive feature on their face or their overall appearance. Let's say you meet someone named Mark and he has a striking pair of blue eyes. You could create a visual anchor by picturing a giant blue X for his name, superimposed over his eyes. The more vivid and unusual the image, the better. Don't be afraid to get creative and even a little silly with your visual anchors. The goal is to create a memorable association that will instantly pop into your mind when you see that person again. For example, if you meet someone named Emily who has a contagious laugh, you might picture her with a giant E for Emily, dangling from her mouth like a funny set of teeth every time she laughs. Or, if you meet someone named David who's wearing a bright red tie, you could imagine a giant D for David printed all over his tie like a wacky pattern. The key is to find something unique about their appearance and link it to their name in a way that's both memorable and amusing to you. The more senses you can involve in your visual anchor, the stronger the association will be. For instance, if someone has a particularly firm handshake, you could imagine their name etched into your hand in bold letters. Or, if they have a distinct perfume or cologne, you could try to associate their name with that specific scent. By creating these visual anchors, you're essentially tapping into the power of your visual memory, which is far stronger than your verbal memory. The next time you meet someone new, take a moment to observe their face and look for a distinctive feature that stands out to you. Once you've identified a feature, create a mental image that links their name to that feature. So unleash your creativity, embrace the power of visual anchors, and watch your ability to remember names skyrocket. Practice this technique regularly, and soon it will become second nature. You'll find yourself effortlessly recalling names and faces, impressing others with your memory skills. Share this technique with friends and family, and help them improve their memory too. Remember, the key is to make the visual anchors as vivid and unique as possible. With practice, you'll become more confident in social settings, knowing you can remember names with ease. Reflect on your progress and continue to refine your technique for even better results. Embrace the power of visual anchors and take your memory skills to the next level. The next technique is all about making connections. Our brains are wired to store information in relation to things we already know. So, when you meet someone new, try to find a connection between their name and something familiar to you. For example, let's say you meet someone named Chris, and you have a close friend named Chris who's a pilot. You could create a connection by picturing your friend Chris flying a plane with the new Chris's face on the side. Or let's say you meet someone named Lisa, and you absolutely love pizza. You could imagine a giant pizza with Lisa written across it in pepperoni. See? It's all about making those quirky connections that stick in your mind. The more personal and emotionally charged the connection, the more likely you are to remember it. So, don't be afraid to get creative and have some fun with it. The goal is to create a web of associations that will help you recall the name later on. Let's say you meet someone named Brian, and they mention they're a musician. If you're a fan of a band with a member named Brian, you could picture the two Brians jamming out together on stage. The key is to find a connection that resonates with you personally. The more meaningful the connection, the stronger the memory will be. So the next time you meet someone new, take a moment to think about their name and see if you can find any connections to things you already know. Here's how to engage with the person on a deeper level and create a more memorable interaction. It's a simple yet powerful way to connect with someone in a meaningful manner. Instead of just hearing their name and trying to cram it into your memory, ask them a question that directly relates to their name. This approach makes the conversation more personal and engaging. For example, you could ask, "That's an interesting name, Sarah. Is there a story behind it?" Or "David, is that a family name?" These questions invite them to share something unique about themselves. This not only shows that you're genuinely interested in getting to know them better, but it also gives you another opportunity to hear and repeat their name. Repetition is key to memory. People love talking about themselves and the origins of their names. It's a topic that is both personal and often filled with interesting stories. It's a unique part of their identity, and by asking about it, you're showing that you recognize and respect that. This can make the person feel valued and appreciated. Plus, when they tell you the story behind their name, or any interesting facts associated with it, you're more likely to remember it because you've created a contextual anchor for that information. This makes the name stick in your mind. Let's say you meet someone named Michael, and you ask him if he prefers Mike or Michael. This small detail can make a big difference in how you remember him. He tells you a funny story about how his grandma always called him Mikey, even though he hated it. This humorous anecdote adds a layer of personality to the name. Now you have a humorous anecdote to associate with his name, making it much more memorable. Stories and emotions are powerful memory aids. Or imagine you meet someone named Emily, and you ask her if her name has any special meaning. This question can open up a rich conversation. She tells you that Emily is a family name, passed down from her great-grandmother, who was a renowned artist. This adds depth to your understanding of her. Now you have a vivid image of an artistic Emily to link to the name. This visual association helps in retaining the name. By asking these name-based questions, you're not only making the interaction more engaging and memorable for both of you, but you're also creating an opportunity to solidify the name in your memory through repetition and association. This technique is both effective and enjoyable, so don't be afraid to get curious and ask those name-based questions. They can lead to deeper connections and more meaningful conversations. Finally, this last technique is a bit more discreet, but incredibly effective. As soon as you hear someone's name, find a discreet way to write it down or repeat it to yourself several times in your head. For example, if you're at a networking event and receive a business card, jot down a small note next to their name, like a visual cue or a brief reminder of something unique about them. This physical act of writing helps reinforce the name in your memory. And if you don't have a pen and paper handy, don't worry. You can achieve a similar effect by silently repeating the person's name to yourself several times. For instance, you could say to yourself, "Okay, his name is John, John with R. John works in marketing. Got it, John from marketing." This internal repetition combined with a visual cue or a brief description helps solidify the name in your memory. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Won't it be obvious if I'm writing down names or muttering to myself? Not necessarily. You can be subtle about it. For example, you could pretend to be checking your phone while quickly typing the name in your notes app. Or you could excuse yourself to the restroom for a moment and jot down the names you want to remember. The key is to be discreet and find opportunities to reinforce the names without drawing too much attention to yourself. And remember, consistency is key. Over time, you'll find yourself effortlessly remembering names without even having to think about it. So there you have it. 5 powerful techniques to help you remember names like a pro. What do you think? Have you tried any of these techniques before? Now, I know it might seem like a lot to remember at first, but the key is to start small and focus on incorporating 1 or 2 techniques at a time. Remember, mastering the art of remembering names can open doors and create lasting impressions. Keep practicing and keep learning.